Hello and welcome to The Art of Strange Mentalism. I'm Tony Burnett, and if you don't believe me, it's written right here. Yeah. And I'll be your host. Today we have a great show for you. A good friend of mine agreed to be on the show, and really looking forward to talking with him. I'm sorry I had some dental work done, and it's making it hard for me to speak, but I'll do my best. Um, Please help me welcome someone who's been in the business for a while and has made a, a good name for himself. He's been on AGT, he's been on Penn and Teller Fullers, he's traveled around the world, uh, and in my opinion, the most important thing is he's my friend, and I'm very happy that he is. So please help me welcome Mysterion.
Hey everybody. Hey
Oops.
Tommy, thanks for having me on the show again.
Oh yeah, thank you. Give a show, but I'm happy you're here. Yeah. So in case anybody doesn't know who you are, and if they don't, they should get to know you. Um, why don't you say a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Sure, absolutely. So I've been performing mentalism for over 20 years. I'm based in Toronto, Canada. I've been performing corporate events, parties, that type of thing that we all do. And then I also produce a sideshow. So I
Mm-hmm.
have a full sideshow where we hire in acts from not only Canada, but also from where you're from, Coney Island. I
Mm-hmm.
bring in the acts from different sideshows around America and even in Europe and Japan. We've had a couple of performers fly in from Asia. And these are big, big events. And so, we just did one about 3 weeks ago, and we had a big venue, a like, big concert venue, and it was sold out. It was packed. So that's an annual thing, and I love doing that because I love strange things. That's kind of what I'm known for. And then the rest of the year, I do company events, some conventions. I have a residency, so I'm there performing and creating. As of recently, about a year now, I've been releasing product and did well with a book test that I released with Penguin called Cryptid. That was well received. And generally now I'm kind of establishing myself again as a solo act because over the past decade I was working with a duo, the Sentimentalists, and about a year ago we parted ways. And in that time, I've had to really reflect on where I wanted to go creatively, and sort of reevaluate myself as a solo entertainer. You can't just pick up and go, it's not riding a bike. Everything I had was older footage and outdated. And so I've had to really say, what is it I want to do now
Yeah.
at 50? And after I've had this big, wonderful experience, what is it I want to do now? And it's been a year and a half, and I'm still challenged because I'm still discovering, what and how and why I do what I do.
Yeah.
And and so that's where I'm kind of at right now. And I've had an interesting journey, a lot of ups, a few downs, but generally speaking, not too bad considering it kind of felt at the beginning that it was going to be impossible, but it wasn't impossible. I just had to steer the ship a different direction, and it seems to be working,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. Well, when was it? Was it a year ago when you were here, or was it long?
I was in New York a couple weeks ago, but I couldn't
Yeah, I
get in
know you
touch
were.
with
Yeah.
anybody because I was
Yeah. No.
working. But when we
Yeah.
did that show was about a year ago. It was April of last year.
I thought it was.
And I did a show that you attended at a venue. For the life of me, I can't remember what it was called.
It's
But
not there anymore. It's not there
oh,
anymore.
they're gone, huh?
Yeah,
So look what I did.
you closed
I
the whole thing.
closed the venue. The
Yeah,
show was so but no, it was a fun night. And you know what? It was a well-attended show. Not a very it wasn't a small venue by any means. It was
yeah,
not big, but we had about 100 people there or so
yeah,
from what I
yeah,
remember.
yeah.
And the show was fine. I had a little write-up and it was worth my while. And
Yeah.
Liz and I also came back again and worked with David Corsero. I did a show at the winery with
Okay.
David, and that was when it was that heat wave last year. It was so deadly hot,
Yeah, yeah.
and we did that. And I remember we walked over to the winery, and when I got there, I was exasperated. It was awful, and I had to get myself together, and finally I had enough, and then show started, and I went out and I did it, and I think it was okay. We did House of Cards, no, sorry, House of Magic in Philadelphia right after.
Okay. Yeah.
So it was kind of like a flash in the pan. I came into New York, I did the show, we went back to the hotel, I got a nap, and we got up and we hopped on a Flix bus and took it to Philadelphia and went right to the theater, set up, and I did 2 nights at the House of Magic, and those shows were sold out. They were great. And
Right.
then I came home.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
But
great.
it's been interesting to work solo because it's been comfortable to have somebody to have banter with who is part of the show itself. I
Yeah.
can have banter with the audience, I can have banter with a spectator, but it was it was very easy to have banter with Steph because we worked so well together with that duo.
Yeah.
And when we went out on stage, all we needed to do was kind of talk to one another to allow the audience to understand who we are, what we do, and who we are as individuals.
Yeah.
I was a
Yeah.
little bit more mischievous, and she was a little bit more the straight man in the act. As a
Mhm.
solo act, I can't come out and be immediately mischievous because it diminishes the power of the mind reading. It makes me look more like a comedy, which is
Right.
fine for some people. But for me, I am more, at lack of saying this, weird, but with a comedic edge. So I'm
Yeah.
a little bit tongue in cheek and I laugh at myself, but I have to establish the importance of the seriousness of what we're going to do before I start um, being light about it.
Mhm.
Because I'm not an act like, you know, a Justin Willman who is funny right off the bat.
Right.
I have to come out and be a little bit Count Dracula,
Right.
but then also show my vulnerability and also show my humanity and also show that I'm just a regular guy all in one. And it's tough. And what I discovered was I was working
What?
with a model that was outdated. I was essentially working still as Mysterion from the Sentimentalists. And when that happened, all of a sudden I went, no, I got to completely revamp everything. I got to do my hair differently. I got to start dressing differently. And once I started doing that, my personality started to come out and shine,
Yeah.
you know? And it
Yeah.
works. It worked,
Yeah. It does. Yeah. Yeah.
and that's scary, but it
Yeah.
works, you know?
Yeah.
And so now I've started to take that incentive to be me a little bit more than being a character. But the character and me were always intertwined.
Right.
I don't have to put on a mask and a suit to be me. I could just be me with a cool shirt and my natural, I guess you would call it, charm. and it seems to be working. So it's been interesting, you know. So I have had this privilege to learn from the experience, and now I'm working on content, and really having a great time working on content and reevaluating what is it I want to say to the audience. What is my message? What is How am I going to get that message across? Am I going to rely on things I did 20 years ago and update them, or am I going to scrub everything and just start from scratch? And it was a little of column A and a little of column B and a little of a new column that I'm building. And now I have a comfortable sort of zone where I've been working. And, you know, I did a show. So everyone knows, I just had my eyes done 2 days ago. I had lens replacement surgery. So everything is very bright right now, and it's interesting. So I'm seeing the world. I'm seeing color. It's like a mentalism effect on me.
Yeah.
But the night before I went and did the surgery, I did a show at the Toronto Raptors game, and you know, it was a very high end client. They had bought a box. They had paid an exorbitant amount of money for this box for 40 of their top VIPs to show up, and they hired me. And you know, they were used to seeing me in a suit, and I showed up in a designer shirt, a t-shirt, um, a vintage velvet jacket, and
Mhm.
designer jeans, and a designer scarf. That, of course, Liz picked it all out for me because I wouldn't know how to do that.
Right,
My
right.
partner picked that all out.
Yeah.
But when I walked in, they kind of looked at me and went, "Huh, you look great." And I went, it works. You know, even though Liz picked the clothes, I okayed them because they were ones that I liked, and
Right.
it worked with me. And then it was easy for me to just interact with everybody because they're in their corporate world and they showed up in suits. But
Yeah.
here I was dressed in designer, and it made me different.
Right.
And I had a fear of doing that for so long. I had a fear of taking that risk of going, what are they going to think if I don't show up in a suit or in a tie? I think as entertainers, we're allowed to design our look,
Hmm.
as long as it's designed well and thoughtfully. I
Yeah.
don't think I'm not talking about showing up in a $20 t-shirt. I'm talking about a real, like a John Varvatos shirt with a Versace jacket. Big difference. And they
Yeah.
see that. And I've sort of come to realize that in this new approach to what I'm doing, I don't have Steffi as the eye candy.
Right.
I have to create my own eye candy. And I'm not creating it here, I'll tell you that. I have to create it in another way. And
Me
so, you
either.
know what I'm getting at? So I have to create it in a different way. And it
Yeah.
and it seems to be working. And
Hmm.
I wouldn't have had that revelation if I stayed in my safety zone and continued to work in the same format as I did with Steffi and prior when I did it solo for a decade as well.
Yeah.
So it's been an interesting year.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. I've been, I mean, we've been friends, but I follow you,
Yeah.
and I think you've been putting in a lot of work, and it seems to be paying off. Um, um, so before the show, you mentioned doing a like a bizarre show every couple of years.
Yeah, so you're talking about the Seance show.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Hmm.
Absolutely. So there's a really fun venue that just opened in Toronto. It's called the Catacomb Lounge. And it's essentially a little theater. It seats about 50.
Hmm.
Um, and it's under a store. There's no sign. You have to get to it from the back alley. Um, and it's a little rough around the edges. And when I was told about it, I thought, I don't know if I want to do anything here. It might not be the best for me. I want to frame myself differently. But the guy who's a very well-known comedian, he did very well on the comedy circuit, toured around the world, did a lot of stuff in comedy. He's the owner. And he asked me, and he said, I've been a fan of your work. Just come give it a shot. I thought, of course, no problem. And so I booked the seance show, which in all honesty is only about 40 minutes. And I thought, I'm not only going to perform for 40 minutes, I'm going to perform a bit longer because we're charging admission. So I came up with what I feel is a sweet spot. So this space it's church pews, and everyone sits in the church pews, and
Yeah.
it's a room about, oh, I don't know, it's not very big, but it's big enough for 50 people, and there's a bar, and it's licensed. But the stage itself is small, and there's a brick wall, and it just doesn't look like there's much in the sense of panache, but it has something to offer for a bizarrist because it's creepy and it has a feeling like you're in a church, and there's old Catholic effigies of Saint Mary, Lady Mother Mary, and Saint Joseph, and this kind of stuff. Forgive me, I'm not that religious. And candles, and then there's a
Oh, uh, wait a minute. Sorry. I don't know what I did.
perfect. Can you hear me now?
Yep, sorry about that.
Yeah, it's okay. And then there's a confessional booth in the other side of the venue, and you can go in there, and there's candles, and I guess you can make out with your partner in there. I don't know why it's there, but it's there. And then there's a red room that has candles everywhere, and very, very gothic, and very, well, catacombs. And I thought, this is a great space. And it was the coldest night of the year. It was minus 40, and your eyes would freeze going outside, and it was packed, and some young magicians showed up, some people I haven't seen in a while. There was a group of 8 that showed up, some, I mean, people I don't even know. And
Mm-hmm.
the seance was great. We had a really intimate, fun show. I opened for myself. I came out and I did a 25-minute spot with my original material. Then we had a break, and then we reset, and then we did the seance for about 45, 50 minutes. And then afterwards I hung out with people, and I did a little bit of close up just for about 20 minutes for value.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and everyone loved it. And the owner said, will you come back? And I said, yeah, 100%. Let's do it again next month. And so I call it the Walt Seance, and it's, the Walt doll that I have, a haunted doll, and
Mm-hmm.
it's
Mm-hmm.
about him. And so I'm sort of creating an act where he and I have banter, and he communicates with other tools and other methods to close the conversation and also communicate to the audience. And so I set up the bit, and then the doll closes the bit. And that could be through a spirit bell, through a chalkboard, through a candle flickering. It could be
Mm-hmm.
through a Ouija board. It could be through a spirit box. It could be through many different tools, which I have to be honest, about 60% of the show is concrete. The other 40 is very fluid. And
Mm-hmm.
boy, did it ever work. Everyone was freaked out. Um, and so I'm doing it again this Friday.
Yeah,
And I'm going to film it. I'll send you a copy, so
yeah,
you can
yeah,
watch it.
yeah,
But
yeah.
I'm really happy with the work that I've put into it. And I think I'm going to take it a step further and do it monthly until September, and then I'm going to do 2 or 3 a week leading up to Halloween week,
Yeah.
um,
Oh.
and really attract some serious numbers, because there's other seances that happen in Canada, and they do quite well, and they're charging pretty well for this, essentially the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I've been
Mm-hmm.
around longer, and I don't see why I shouldn't be doing this.
Right.
It's what
Yeah.
I do. Um,
Yeah.
so, I have the media behind it. We have a morning show called Breakfast Television. I was
Mm-hmm.
just on 2 weeks ago, and they said, anytime you just let us know, we'll put you on. So that goes out to the whole city. And then I have some local bloggers that have a big presence. They're interested. And I just want to test the water. I can't put in too much in regards to um, public attention because the space is so small.
Right.
I don't want to be turning many people away. I want it that's it's okay to turn some away, but
Yeah.
I don't want it to be like 400 people got turned away. They're not going
Right.
to come back.
Right.
So that's I'm kind of gauging it, but it's such a great space. And it's kind of old school spooky, you know, and I like the fact that you have to go down this alley and then there's just a door with a number on it. And you walk in and you go down this dark hallway and down the steps, and then you're in the catacombs, and it's all wood and religious, and then there's this little area with the stage and all the church pews and a couple there's some old school desks that they've removed the front and moved it forward so an adult can sit in it, so you can sit in there and have your drink or whatever. So I'm thinking maybe do something with the old school desk and make it haunted. I don't know, I haven't got to that yet, but
Mhm.
but that's something I'm working on, and I'm looking forward to elevating it a little bit more.
Yeah. Yeah. It sounds like fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm behind you as far as that's what I want to do, but I'm not quite there yet to be able to do it. But you're definitely an inspiration.
Thank you. I
So
think the secret is just doing it. And if it
yeah,
screws up, you just do it again until it doesn't
yeah,
screw up
yeah,
anymore.
yeah,
I've had some bad ones, man. I'll tell you. I've had a few,
yeah, yeah.
but that's what you got to do. You just got to go do it. And you know, one thing I did that might be something to put on your agenda
Mm-hmm,
is I approached a comedy club in Toronto that has heavy foot traffic. They
mm-hmm,
run, I'm not making this up. Every month they run uh 800 shows a month.
mm-hmm,
So they're running 13 or 14 a day, and they have two locations.
mm-hmm,
And they're on hour rotations. So it starts at, like, let's say 5 to 6 to 7, 7 to 8, 8 to 9, 9 to 10, then the midnight show. And they have multiple rooms in each venue.
oh wow. Mm-hmm,
And so they are like clockwork. And I approached them and I said, I have new material that I worked on. Um, I don't have a real audience that I can just whip up. Can I come in, not on your open mic night, on your headline night, and come in and do 5 minutes every Saturday night if I'm not working, or on a Friday if I'm not working, or on my way to a gig? It's down the road from my house. It's only about a kilometer, half a mile, and
mm-hmm,
um and I could walk over there if it's not cold out. And the guy said, "Yeah, because I've known him for so long. I've known him since the venue opened, and I've gone in maybe 7 times. I had Liz film it, and we put it up on TikTok,
mm-hmm.
and uh, and that idea of just going in and saying, 'Hey, listen, let me have 5 minutes.' It might be something to look into doing in your area because you can't fail. You already have an in-house audience. You're only doing 5 minutes,
Right.
and you could film it and then rewatch it, do what you want with the footage, and then keep going back. And I'm using it to build a new local fan base
Yeah, yeah.
because a lot of the people who saw my show, even pre-COVID, have children now. They're not coming out. The housing crisis, the cost of living, they're not buying tickets to see things.
Right.
And when I did Something Strange, which was the sideshow, I only emceed it. Liz and I emceed it. She did a bit. I did one bit, but I wasn't the focus.
Mm-hmm,
I noticed the audience were all between the ages of 19 and 30.
mm,
And I went, that's the problem. I have to reestablish the audience a young audience, and at lack of a better term, speak their language. So I'm talking to them as well about doing a quarterly show. So it's once a season
Mm-hmm.
where I do 45 minutes and I have a comedian open for me.
Mm-hmm.
And then leading up to it, I do 2 or 3 appearances a month, each month. And when I'm at the event, I say, hey, by the way, I have an event here on such and such a date. Tickets are on sale right now. They're a third off if you buy them on site right now. And then I could sell out that room when it's my night. And it's a little bit of extra work, but when you really think about it, now you'll have 125 ticket sales at $30 a ticket,
Mm-hmm.
and you'll also have 6 nights of 130 people who wouldn't know who you are now know who you are, or at least saw you, and some of them are going to follow you, and some of them are going to talk about you. And I ran into media there. That's how I got the breakfast television spot, because
Mm-hmm.
the
Mm-hmm.
girl from BT was there. I ran into an old client there, and she said, "Oh my God, we should get you for our company party in the summer." So it really opens that door to reconnecting,
Okay.
because I've been off the radar on a grassroots level for
Right.
so long. For so long. And people think that I'm not approachable. They think they're going to call me and I'm going to quote them some stupid price. No, I'm going to quote you a fair price for what I'm going to do. But it
Yeah.
definitely doesn't mean I can't come to your house party or your bar mitzvah. I mean, I do them all the time. That's how
Yeah.
I pay the bills. You
Yeah.
know, not every event is a gala for Ford Motor Cars.
Right.
So I think I have to rebuild that, because let's face it, for 10 years, I was doing a duo act away from my city.
Right.
And it's a way to do it, just jumping in, doing a comedy club, doing a open mic night even, or creating a little show in your area. And, have a 2-for-1 special, give out a couple tickets. If you bring a friend, you get a freebie, and pack it, and and then just do your own stuff and get the ball rolling, because there's no better time than the now, right?
Yeah.
That's how
Yeah.
I see it.
Yeah. Cool. Cool. Um, so, okay, we have some people here. Hi, people. Um, does anyone have a question for Mysterion? No?
Not even one.
Okay, we got
I'm curious,
Wiley.
what's your hobby
We got
other
Wiley.
than,
Say that
Oh,
again.
go ahead,
I'm
Bill.
wondering what your hobby is other than mystery.
You can see it behind me. So I'm a big toy collector. I love action figures, collecting vintage toys, the history of toys, the companies that manufacture them, the process, how they're made, the think tanks behind toy creation. I actually have a toy channel on YouTube called Toy Surprise. A friend of mine and I, we do once a week. We go to a toy convention or to a toy shop or a vintage store or whatever. We buy a couple cool things, and then we review them on the channel. And like, for example, Monday is something called Family Day in Canada. It's like a holiday where you can just sit around with your family and do nothing. But there's a big toy show every Family Day, so we're gonna go to that, see what we can find, and then do a sort of a show and tell on the YouTube channel. And I was just telling Tommy that I picked this up for Paul Romani from Vanish magazine, because he does a Charlie Chaplin tribute act, and I just picked this up for him as a little thank you for putting me on the cover of Vanish last month. And it's a little wind up 1950s Charlie Chaplin toy, and he walks in his thing. I just got to get a little hat for him. But I love toys. I love, like I said, I love monster toys. The whole house is filled with them. There's classic Johnny Wests and Star Wars and Lego, and in here there's vintage Mr. Potato Head and 50s. I mean, I have probably 10,000 action figures in the house right now. It's pretty stupid, but that's my other hobby. That's my hobby.
So that's your relief other than working.
If I didn't do magic, I would be a toy creator. Um, but I think with toys, for me, it's more the hunt of finding something and creating that void that needs to be filled. So with magic, I love magic. Don't get me wrong. I absolutely love every element of it. I love finding the gig, doing the gig, learning, changing things. I love all of that. I love, learning new methods, talking to other people about what they do, all that stuff. That's great. But there's no it's regimented in a way. There's no real area for freedom in the sense that I can't just get up and do something like um I couldn't get up and just do the origami illusion, for example. I love that. That's my favorite magic trick of all time. Doug Hennings. So if I was to go up and do that, it would contradict everything I've built for my branding. With toys, I'm free to do whatever I want. I could get 1960s Barbies. I could get Kittles. I could get G.I. Joe. I could get 1910s metal toys. I could get tin type toy. I could get stuff from Germany from 1850. Like I got stuff from, I have a Roman toys from ancient Rome. Like I get everything. And it's sort of like this freedom to do whatever I want in that moment. There's no rule or any regulation. I hate this phrase, but I have adult money, so I can buy whatever the hell I want, and I do, and it sometimes it's foolish, but the joy I get from finding something, like we were at a toy show last week, and I found these 5-inch action figures from the 80s of just generic ninjas and samurais. And I remember them being at the Five and Dime when I was a kid, and I never bought them. And you get this wave of nostalgia, and all these memories come flooding back. And I remember my mom and I were there, and she goes, "Do you want them?" And I went, they're cheap. And then I look at them from a different perspective now. I see why they were created. There's brand confusion. They were building them. They were a lower grade company made them to compete with Karate Kid figures and Chuck Norris figures. So they made these sort of dollar store knockoffs. So there's brand confusion, and that whole concept. I'm fascinated by it, and it still happens to this day. Like I go into the dollar store now, and I'll look at all the different stuff that's on display, and I'll say, does any of this speak to me? Does it have a toyetic magic? And sometimes it does, and I'll just buy it just because I think it's fun. And that's what toys are. They should be I don't buy them for value. I mean, if they're expensive, I have to pay the price, but they're not for an investment. But if it's something fun and it connects with me, which about 80% of them do, unfortunately, I jump right in and I go gung ho. Like I could see right behind me, there's that spy figure right there. There's like a figure there. It's by a company called Ideal. It's from 1967, and it's made to look like Man from Uncle, but it's not Man from Uncle. And when I was in Erie, Pennsylvania, I did Keller's Magic Theater, and there's a wicked toy store in Erie, 3-story toy store. You spend all day in there. They had it, and I'm like, sold. And my partner was like, "What even is that? You don't collect spy toys." I go, "Doesn't matter. I just like the fact you can change his mask. You can build his scope. You can put the scope on his rifle. You can build his rifle. He has everything hidden in the pockets of his trench coat." I mean, that to me is a amazingly designed piece of art. And I mean, the whole house is just filled with it. And that's probably about 20% what I just showed you. There are literal rooms filled floor to ceiling with toys. And then magic, I just have like half a room, like a little cabinet, and I have my stuff in it and some posters. But I got my magic stuff up there. There's some magic things, but generally, the whole house is just toys. That's my hobby.
So that's your relief.
That's my relief. Yeah,
Excellent.
yeah, I love it.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Bill.
Yeah.
Wiley, do you have a question?
Yeah, hi, Chris.
Hey, how you doing? Who is that?
Oh, that's Wiley.
Oh, hey, Wiley, what's shaking, buddy?
Yeah, yeah, we probably crossed somewhere on the
Yeah,
net
I
at
know who
some
you
point.
are. Of
Yeah, yeah,
course.
yeah. Yeah. So, just a quick question. Like, I'm close to a big metropolitan area. Like, you're in one, Toronto, obviously.
Where are you?
I'm just south of Seattle.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I was in Vancouver. We moved here. But what I'm wondering is that, um, so in a big city, probably a lot more opportunities. We're much further out. We're more in a rural community, although our county has 1 million people in it.
Right.
So one of the things I'm having trouble with is because the area we're in isn't a traditional city. We got all these people; they're spread all over Hell's Half Acre. They're
But it's
everywhere
not
in
a
the county.
city with a hub.
Right. That's the problem. There's no like hub like
I
Toronto has,
gotcha.
like downtown or something like that. That
Sure.
doesn't exist. The problem with that, of course, is that finding venues.
Okay. I have a little solution that's two-part for you.
Okay.
I've actually considered moving into an area like you're living right now. Because the bonus of living in an area like that is you're the only fish in the pond. And you're going to be able to create a lot of buzz and not have any outside interference. Whereas in Toronto, I have 50 other performers doing 50 other things, and you're constantly competing, which is okay, but it's also there's a lot of things that go along with that. My approach to where you're at right now is find a community center or a community theater or even a church or a space that allows for, let's say you said there's 1 million there, let's say 250 capacity. Look into Facebook and look into Google ads. They changed my life. They changed my life. Utilize about, let's just say, for every ticket you want to sell, let's say you sell the tickets for $20. For every ticket you want to sell, put $3 of ad into that. So if you have 250 tickets, you're going to put in, what's that, $750 into ads. Okay. You buy the ads, you have a video, you have your poster, you have your ticket link to where they buy the tickets, have it all there. And it always works because people always want something to do. They always want something to do. If you could find a spot that's like, I was out in I went to a place called um oh my god. It's north of Oshawa. Not Brooklyn. It's called Brooklyn.
Okay.
And we were looking at a place there. And I thought, my God, I could kill here. There's nothing to do. The downside is once you've done it and you've done it twice, unless you're building a bigger a scene, um, you're gonna go to the well too many times. But you could also take that formula and go out an hour and a half outside of where you are, then an hour and a half the other way, and an hour and a half the other way. There's a guy named Jordan Mindbender, and he does that. He does theaters in the weirdest little cities and towns that are like, I thought, how are you drawing? Like, what are you doing? And he goes, well, the theater isn't big. It's 120 people. And I go, well, how are you making money? He goes, the theater costs $500. I charge $35. I sell 100 tickets. I made 2 grand. I went, ah, okay. And he goes, and I get to film it and I get to workshop and I get to get photos and I get to do local media and keep that in my portfolio. And now he's working cruises because he's done all those shows. He got all that footage, he put it all together, and a cruise agency bought him. And right out of the gate, he's working on cruise ships. So it's a bit of a blessing that if you have the time to really focus on um, a rural setting, you can get big things out of it and use that to your advantage. My problem is that, for example, Toronto. Um, all right, let's say I want to do my own solo show and it's going to be just Mysterion. It's the Mysterion fuck up show, whatever you want to call it. And I'm going to get the JCC. I'm going to hire the Jewish Community Center down the road. Just popped in my head. They have a big theater. I'm going to use that space. It's going to cost me $3,500. Then I'm going to have to get this. Before you know it, I'm in 5 grand, 6 grand, then and 6,500. Then I got to put the money into the machine and I got to do this and I got to do that. And at the end of the day, I've put in 100 hours to generate $10,000 in sales. That's a lot of work for a profit of maybe $4,500, where I could put that time into calling old clients and getting 1 gig and going and do their corporate gala. Now, when you look at somebody who's a touring act that's getting a lot of money, they're exceptions. Like, I know firsthand that at this point in the game, Lucy Darling is making 10 grand a night or more doing an hour show. She has 4 shows already sold out in Toronto at the Princess of Wales Theatre. I'm friends with her manager, lives around the corner from me. And where is she getting her sales? She's not advertising. She's not putting money into ads, all from TikTok, because she put a product out on TikTok and it related and people bit. Now, the plus side to that is people bit. But like anything, it will phase out. It always phases out. So you have to kind of go, okay, what is my goal? Where do I want to bring this? And what is the next thing I want to do? And that's where I'm at right now. I'm at that what is the next stage I want to see. I'm not as busy as everyone thinks I am. Like, I'm moderately busy, but my March is like, I might as well just take a vacation. Like, it's slow. Like, I got maybe 8 bookings for the whole month. Usually I do that in a weekend over the holidays. So it's kind of like also March break, people go away, it's fucking freezing, the economy's kind of shoddy, all kinds of reasons. I don't know what they are. But, what am I going to do instead? Okay, I'm going to learn how to use search engine optimization. I'm going to learn how to use LinkedIn ads. I'm going to learn how to use anything. And then I'll apply that to the next stage of the game. So to make it short, find a space in your area. If you have 1 million people in your area, what is the industry in your area?
Well, that's just it. Because there's no hub, there's really no main industry. It's a whole pile
Nothing
of,
that it's known for?
no, not really. It's pretty rural.
Is it older people?
Well, the demographics are pretty even. Probably the average age is about 35 to 40 for
Because
adults.
what I was going to say is you contact seniors homes and you say, hey, I have a show. This is how much it costs. Here's a reel. I can come in and do your lunchtime entertainment and offer you it for this price. If it's a chain, for example, like there's Circle of Care in Canada, they'll have like 50 seniors homes around the city. I used to say, I don't really work for them anymore, but I would say to them, okay, I'll give you a show for $1,000, but if you want to book me for 10, I'll do it for 7,000 and give you a break of 30%. And they would jump on it, man. They jumped on it. I would just say, I'm like the Amazing Kreskin. Tell them I'm like the Amazing Kreskin, and they'll understand what it is. And then you go in and do it. I know a girl that goes in and sings songs from the 50s and 60s. She does them on a piano, and then she makes great money doing the senior circuit. But that's if you want to do the senior circuit. But a lot of time it's if you look at your demographic of your area, that could be where you're at. Or if you're targeting seniors, you just have to set your ad goals to fitting their online reach. You just have to find what on that scale, what age demographic you're looking for. You just set your perimeter and create an ad that would sell to that market. And a thing that sells to that market is like um, more so movie or music, like 50s 60s retro, that kind of stuff works. But it could work with magic. It does work with magic. You can make it magic from the 60s and have a theme to it. Create a trick that has to do with your favorite song or something, and just have that in the marketing so they can immediately relate and go, "Ah, this is for us," you know, opposed to something that you would try to target kids with. It totally different world, right? For like young teenage, like teenage to 21, totally
Oh,
different
it's
world,
completely
right?
different.
Completely, right? And it's a tough one too. You got to figure out what venue you're going to use, price point. But if you find a little space in your area, it's not too hard to generate people. You just have a nice, clean product, make it look good. If you want to say the words fun for the whole family, I never do that because then kids show up and it's a disaster. But I don't work with kids. I don't work with kids or animals. I'm a mentalist. If they're in a family environment, no problem. But if they're bringing them to the show, it's not going to be the right demographic. But if you have a product that could work for ages 6 or 7 and older, it's a family event. Have a family pass, $45 family pass. Boom, they'll sell like hotcakes. People always want something to do.
No, that's fair enough.
They always do, whether they're broke or not. Listen, I have friends who are broke. They go out drinking every night. They're broke. They're still looking for something to do. If I
Yeah,
gave that friend if I gave that friend an alternate option and said, "Hey, let's do this instead," they jump on that opportunity.
yeah.
People always.
That's a really good point because I used to tell people all the time that even during the Depression, people went to the movies.
That's right.
They'd be dirt ass broke and they'd
That's right.
scrape up a
They
nickel to go see
filled
a
the
movie.
movies. They wanted hope, right? They wanted hope. They wanted the idea that for a moment they're outside of their pain and misery. Look, something strange. I did it last month, and I mean, I was talking to the people afterwards. I went out. I was talking to people, asked them what they did. They're all kids. They're all living at home or they're struggling working at Starbucks. And I said, I asked them straight up, "Why did you come to this show?" And they went, "Because I could relate. We're a bunch of misfits, and you guys are presenting a show with a bunch of misfits." And I went, "I got it. I see what the connection is." So, I had a girl on stage who's 22 and she does the whole bed and nails and all that stuff. And people are cheering her on because it's empowering. Then I came out, I did the chalkboard bit with the ghost. Oh, now it's scary. Then we had a guy come out, he's missing an arm, and he does one-handed juggling while he balances a ladder on his chin. Like, that's cool. And every act that came out was another weird act. But when you put the pieces together, it was very empowering. Like, and everyone, I mean, it was our best. Well, it wasn't our best one, but it's our best one. And I've done about 15 years of it. Since pre-COVID, I had a really, really big one that had like 900 attendees. This one, because it's a new venue, the place only holds 600, but it was sold out. And the show itself was the best we've had in about 8 years. And you just have to know the market that you're marketing to. And my sister showed up. She's 20 something, 28 maybe, and she brought a bunch of her friends, and they're all normal club kids. They work in a daycare, and they loved it too. So, as long as you can get them in and you present something good, they're gonna like it.
Oh, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Absolutely.
Thank you, Wiley.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the great advice, by the way.
Thank
Great
you.
advice. Did you want to do something for us?
Yeah. Do you want to do something fun?
Yeah, let's.
All right, I'll do it with you, okay?
All right.
So I wrote down a prediction.
Okay.
It's on a chalkboard. Okay.
Mhm.
I'm gonna show you, it's really there. I'm just not gonna show you what it says.
Yeah, okay.
I'm gonna put it right here. I'm not gonna touch anything. And I have 2 cards that I've written down something on. Do you know what it says on that card, Tommy?
I do, but I'll play along. No.
No is absolutely correct. What do you think it says on this card?
Yes.
You're absolutely right again. Okay, so we got yes and no. Very simple, okay?
Okay.
2 words that we use more than any other in the English language, other than the word the. They are very common, and they are what you use to communicate often to a child. All right. With no games, do you know which one is this card? Do you think it's yes or no? What do you think?
Yes. I think
You
it's
think
yes.
that's the yes?
Yeah.
Well, you're absolutely right. It is the yes. Very
Wow.
good. Okay. So that's 50-50 chance. Okay. Let's
Mm-hmm.
do it again. We're going to do it 4 more times. All
Okay.
right. Maybe not that one. Maybe that. Maybe I'm going to mess with you. Yes or no?
No.
You're sure of that? Because
Yeah.
that's the yes. So therefore, that has to be the no. It's amazing. So there's 2. Okay. So this time, you know what I'm going to do? Maybe you're following me. Maybe you're following me. Okay. Here we go. Is this the yes or the no, Tommy?
No.
You're sure? Because
Yeah.
it is the no, the yes is indeed right there. So you've done 3 in a row. 2 more times, Tommy. All right. Yes or no?
No.
I'm sorry, it's the yes.
Oh.
You got one off. Okay, that's okay. We're gonna give you some. There we go. You catch it?
Yeah, I did. Wow.
Okay, good. The final one, yes or no? Which one do you think that is?
That is a yes.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It is the yes. So you got numbers 1, 2, 3, and 5 right. You didn't hit number 4, and that is the exact outcome that I had written down on the board before I even asked you to make choices. So if you're not familiar with the effect, there's a moon coin effect that you can do this with that
Mm-hmm.
uses a silver coin and a brass coin, and you can do it with the coins. But a lot of people would say to me, more than not, I think you're holding 2 coins and you're pulling out the one that you want to show us, or they would flat out say, I think the coin has 2 faces.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, there's got to be another thing that exists where you can do
Oh,
it and
yeah.
just turn it over. And
Right. Yeah.
I'm not going to show you what it is, but I'm sure you
Yeah.
can figure
Yeah.
it out.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was at Don't Blink in
Oh,
New
yeah.
York, and
Yeah.
it was sitting there, and he did it for me, and I went, there it is. and
Mm-hmm.
and so I'm gonna have a stage version made,
Right.
um, and we're gonna go from there, and I'm gonna use it as one of my effects in corporate.
Yeah, nice. I have a set of those somewhere.
Of these ones,
Yeah.
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 What
Yeah.
I often do is I'll say to people, I'll have this written down in advance, and it's real chalk. It's not one of those
Right.
magic boards, right? That are
Right.
expensive. Um, what I'll do is I'll have a uh, a piece of paper, and I'll write down the outcomes, and I'll say to somebody, "You ever get caught cheating at school when you were a kid?" And they go, "No, I never cheated." I go, "Ah, that's a lie. That's a lie. Everyone's cheated at least once." And then I go, all right, don't cheat. I go, I'm going to hand you something. This is important information here, but don't peek. And I give it to them, and I say, whatever you do, don't give it back under no circumstances. And then I say something else. I go, oh, can I have it for a second? And they go to hand it. And I said, no, don't ever give it back. So they go, okay. And then I go, all right, I want you to just go with your gut instinct. And if I was doing the coin, I would say, okay, am I holding we have a loonie and a toonie. It's a brass
Right.
coin and a multicolored coin. So I use a loonie and a toonie. And I'll say, is it the toonie? Is it the loonie? And I'll do the same thing. And then I'll say, all right, give it back now. Nope, don't give it back. And I go, when I was a kid, when I was in school, I hardly studied, and I always landed 80% because I would look at the most intelligent person in the class, and I point to somebody else in the room, and then I go, nah, that's not you. It's the one next to you, as a gag, right? And everyone has a laugh. And I go, and I would pick up their answers. And you were doing that with me because you got the 4th one wrong. Open up the paper and show everyone, and then they open it up, and it's the outcome. And it takes off all the heat from the coins, and it reestablishes they've been holding that the whole time, and it makes it more impossible. But again, like I said many times, maybe every sixth show, or even less, even more, every fifth show, someone will say, let me see the coins. I think it's this, I think it's that. And with these, you have the option to do a swap out, and or you can show it to them with no issue. And you can also show no, and if it's yes, you show yes, and it psychologically creates that they're
Yeah.
not in any
Yeah.
way a prop or a gimmick.
Yeah.
And I love that effect. I do that now. I didn't think I would love it as much as I do. And there's another thing I'm going to tell you a funny story. Speaking of strange mentalism,
Yeah.
we went to Ireland. I'm Irish. A lot of people don't know that. I'm Ringsend and was there as a kid and came to Canada, and then but I have a citizenship and everything, and I can do Europe, which is another thing I'm thinking about doing. But I went home, and I hadn't been home in 27 years
Mm-hmm.
or more, and all my little cousins all have children who are in their 20s. It's very odd. But I booked a show at an oddities museum, and it was like my house. It was all freaky stuff, and and they cleared out the museum and they put chairs and maybe about 60 people, and it wasn't cheap. I think we charged like £40 or something, or €40. Like, it was pretty decent price,
Yeah.
and it paid for our trip for Liz and I to get over there, and it paid for us to have a good few days there. Like, it was a feasible amount. Um, we stayed with a friend, and anyway, we the show was on the Sunday. On the Thursday prior, we went to a venue or location called the Hellfire Club, and it's an old Masonic lodge that has burnt to the ground, and it's up on a mountain or a hill called Mount Pellier on the outskirts of Dublin. And to get to it, you drive to this car park, and then you have to walk for about an hour up a spiral hill to get to the top because it's too steep to walk direct. And
Uh-huh.
when you get to the top, there's nothing but a giant 2 football field of just grass. And right there in the middle, the scariest, freakiest, creepiest house. And you can go in it and go upstairs. It's just like a shell. And there were some people up there. There was a couple kids like with their mom and dad walking a dog, and people having a picnic like out by the edge. But you could look down and see the entire city. Like, it was gorgeous. So we went in, and Liz, her phone went dead. And then I thought that's weird because we charged it because we needed it fully charged. Then she said she saw a shadow of a figure looking out of the window at her. And I went, okay, I don't believe it. Then we turned on my phone, and I turned on one of those spirit meters to see if it did anything. And it said David and Stone. And then it said a couple other words that didn't mean anything. And then we turned it off. And then we got distracted because I tried to scare a child and it worked. And then the family and I were talking. And then our two friends were with us, and they said, you got to check this out. And we went over, and there was a stone, a monument for a guy named David Coyle. And I thought,
Oh,
that's
wow.
weird. I thought, that's weird. And we have it
Yeah.
all on tape. Very weird. I thought, that's coincidence. So now we had to get back home and eat, and my blood sugar was being all weird, and so we figure we're not going to walk down the track. We're not going to come trekking back. We're going to go through the woods and keep hitting the trail. And on the third time we take the trail, we're going to then continue to the car park, and we'll cut a half an hour off the trip. So we start going through the woods, and it's steep, but it's doable. And I had about €100 in my back pocket in different denominations. Tommy, packed deep in my pocket. It flies out of my pocket. Liz goes, your money has flown out of your pocket. It's across the grass of the woods, like 15 feet. I pick it all up. I'm not making this up. I feel someone shove me, and then someone shoves Liz, and I'm like, we're out of here. I forgot to mention, when we're back up at the house, I took some stones as a souvenir. We got back to the house. Now, when I was a little kid, they used to say that the devil's up there, and there's a game of cards, and the Masons were playing cards with a stranger. And when one of them looked under the table, they saw the stranger had cloven feet. There's all sorts of myths. But there are truths. There was a human sacrifice that was done up there. There was a lot of Bohemian Groves type stuff that was going on up there back in the early 1700s. And the place only existed for about, I think, 6 years, and then it burnt to the ground. So I took some stones and we went back to the house, and I listened to a podcast on the venue or on the club. And I had no idea about any of it because I wanted to go in kind of without any idea. And it turns out that the first person that bought that land to build a property, there was a Celtic tomb. And he broke the tomb up and used the stone to build the house. And then the rest of the stone was brought up from a quarry. So he was cutting back costs by using this a grave.
Yeah.
I thought, what an idea for an effect. So what did I do? I came up with a kuretsuke where there's a piece of stone, and then from the tomb, and then 3 pieces that are just polished obsidian. They go in a bag. Everyone takes the piece out. Then they swap them around, and everyone closes their eyes. And then I go like this to the air. And I say, if you felt someone shove you, step forward. And a person steps forward, and I do it again. And I said, if you're the person that felt the shove, take a step forward. And they take a step forward. I said, everyone open their eyes. And I go, you're holding obsidian, you're holding obsidian, you're holding obsidian, and you're holding the piece of the Hellfire Club. I didn't expect this to be the breakout effect. Every time I've done this live at Etoile, at a house party, people are floored because I had one of the electronic kuretsuke where it triggers you when you remove the piece. I just built the gimmick into a piece of stone. And now it works with a piece of stone from the Hellfire Club. And I just bought obsidian. And then, of course, you do a PK tap when their eyes are closed. And the rest, and you just basically have to follow who's holding what. I have everyone without the stone switch first. Then I have the person with the stone switch. And then I know who's holding it, and then I have the other people with obsidian switch. So to the audience, it looks like chaos, but to me, it's controlled.
Right.
And it is fantastic. But here's the weird part. Here's the weird part about it.
Okay.
I tried it at the museum. And after the show, this big Irishman comes up to me and he said, you're crazy for taking that. You're going to take that home on a plane? And I said, yeah. And he went, that money is not going to be the only money you lose while you're here. And I said, what do you mean? He goes, that you never take anything from the Hellfire Club. You're going to lose money. And I thought, so it's common that people lose money up there? He goes, if you take from that property, you will lose money. And you got your money and you took it back, but you will lose money. And may God my witness, I used my bank card at a venue and it was frauded. And somebody got my number and put purchases on it that night, the same night of my show. And I had to phone my bank and say, yep, that was fraud. And I ended up getting the money back, but I lost money.
Wow.
It was very weird. And my God, I mean, it wrote itself.
Yeah.
So I put it into a script, and I do it now as part of a show. I don't do it for the seance. I do it as part of the regular show, but it's about beware of when you're traveling. because
Yeah.
there's fraud, there's pickpockets, but there's also ghosts, you know? And it's sort of funny, but then when you present it, it's freaking really scary. And people have really taken to that one. And I've done it maybe since September. I've done it at least 50 or 60 times. And
Yeah.
every time it's the one at the end of the night. How did you do the thing with the stone? And I say, I didn't do anything with the stone. The stone did it.
Yeah. Very
And
good.
that's it.
Very good. Fifth, thank you so much
You're very
for
welcome.
being today. That was a great show. You made it so easy for me.
Oh,
I
thanks,
didn't,
man.
I didn't have to ask you anything.
Well, you were saying you were having troubles talking, and I was thinking I'm going to do all
Yeah.
the talking. Don't worry.
Well, yeah, it's always great for me, and we'll definitely have to have you come back again.
100%. You let me know,
Yeah,
and I'll be back.
yeah. As always, it's a pleasure to see you and talk to you, and hang out for a little bit while I end the show. But everybody,
Thank you,
Mysterion,
everyone.
yes,
Have a happy Valentine's Day, and enjoy the rest of the night, guys.
excellent.
I got to get dinner on the move, or else I'll be a ghost if she comes home and there isn't a Valentine's
Oh,
Day dinner ready.
yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. Thank you to the studio audience one more time. Here they are right here. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate your support. Next Saturday, we have another guest from the lovely country of Canada, Mr. Stefan Lacroix.
He's
will be-
excellent.
Cool.
He's a great guy.
Great thinker.
Yeah, he's a remarkable thinker, yeah.
Yeah.
And he'll be here next week. So until then, be strange.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, Chris. Thank you for the
Good night,
questions.
guys.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.